So first, I want to actually just take a second to explain what email in ClickUp is. Many of you may not have used this feature before. This feature will allow you to send and receive emails directly from ClickUp tasks. So you'll be able to communicate with people outside of ClickUp, such as clients, prospects, or contractors. This is a really key piece of functionality, particularly if you're looking to use ClickUp for something like a CRM. That communication piece back and forth with people that aren't actually users in your ClickUp workspace is really critical, and that's what the email and ClickUp feature is going to do for you. Now, one theme to keep in mind is we aren't yet aiming to replace your actual email inbox with this feature. This is an extension of your inbox aimed at saving time from having to go back and forth to send emails. It also adds collaboration to email, as you'll see throughout my content today, and it helps you to keep everything in one place. So your email is now going to be inside of ClickUp with this feature. All right, so let's talk about how to get started with actually authorizing email in ClickUp for your workspace. So email in ClickUp is what we call a Click app, which simply means it's a feature that can be turned on or off. So if you are an admin in the workspace, you will be able to go into the Click Apps settings area to turn this feature on. Now, this feature can be turned on for some spaces or all spaces in your workspace. And best practice is definitely to turn it on only for the spaces that are actually going to use this feature. So in this case, I'm going to show you examples of how you could use email and ClickUp to interact with clients, to manage a hiring pipeline, and to manage a bug queue. There's one significant option you'll want to take into account when you turn this feature on, which is to post replies to emails as threaded replies instead of as new comments. You should turn this on if you want to make sure that everyone isn't going to get notifications of new emails on a task. Then you should just turn on the threaded replies. Otherwise, it will create new distinct comments every single time an email comes in, which will prompt a lot of notifications for people in the task. So once this feature is turned on, let's talk about how you would actually enable it and start linking email accounts. And this is, again, something that can be done by admins in the integrations settings area under email. So right here at the bottom under the email accounts tab, you will see the option to add new accounts. And when you click this, you'll just authenticate whatever email you would like to link via Google, Microsoft Outlook, or IMAP. Now, keep in mind that you can link any email address that you are currently using with this feature. It doesn't have to be the email address you're using for your ClickUp account. So that's just something to keep in mind if you have, for example, a generic customer service email that you want to use to link so your customer service team can send from that address, and it's not actually a ClickUp user's address, you can still link that. Once you link an email account like I've done here, you can choose who you want to send the email as. So I just put my own name here. And you can choose the people that can send from this account. This is useful if you want to have control over who has the power to send emails from that address. In this case, I just kept it as myself. But if you're using it in a customer support team context or something, maybe you'd want to choose everyone on your support team to allow them to send from that account. The signatures area is where you can actually customize your signatures that will appear when you send an email from ClickUp. And each person can have custom signatures associated with their account, as you can see here. And you can also have multiple signatures if you like. So I just use the HTML option here to create my signature, but you can also use rich text if you want to add your signature in that way. And you can check out the preview of your signature here as well. So using the HTML option, this is what my signature will look like in the preview mode. Templates are really, really useful with this feature as well in the case that you're sending out repeat copy emails over and over again, you can actually create templates from those common messages that you can just easily pop into an email that you want to send from ClickUp. So for example, maybe I have a template for welcome to ClickUp when someone joins my workspace. And I can add a subject line in here. And I can say, hi there, thanks for joining the team. This can also include rich editing, just like you could do in a task comment or a task description. If you hit the slash key on your keyboard, you could add things like headers. You can also add in tables. You can add in bullet lists. So all of this can add rich context to your email template here. When you create a template, I do recommend that you share it only with the people that need to use it to prevent anyone from either editing the template that shouldn't be, or just prevent confusion if people see templates that don't really pertain to them when they're sending an email from ClickUp. And then you just hit create to keep that in your template bank. All right. The next thing I wanted to show you is how you can manually send an email from a task. So now that we've linked our account, how are we actually going to go about using this? So my first example here is a space called clients. And in this example, I am going to create a folder for each of my clients. My client in this case is ClickUp, and I have a list in that client folder for all of the campaigns that I'm working on for the client inside of ClickUp. Now, my client is not actually a member of ClickUp, so to communicate with them and get their approval on these various tasks, I am going to use the email and in ClickUp feature. So to do that, in the comment area on the right side of the task, when I click into the comment, I'll just click the send email button rather than the comment option. And from here, I can just enter in their address. So, and you'll also notice when I linked my email account, it will actually pull up my address book. So all of the emails that I'm sending to commonly from that address will automatically pop up here. So when you start typing in an address, ClickUp will already show you the one that you'll probably want to send to. So I can put in my email here. And then I can add my signature as well from the signature bank area. Email and ClickUp is still in beta, so every once in a while we see something fun like this. But what we should see is that lovely HTML signature that I built. Now, in addition to the just quick text I put in here, I can quickly add in an email template. So if I wanted to put in a template like ready for client review, I could pop that in. And you can also add attachments to your email. So if you want to link a file that you'd like the review on from the client, you can attach that and it will be included in your email. And a fun, quick option that you can incorporate as well is our emojis. So you can throw in some personality into your email. That one's maybe a little too intense for interaction with a client, but depends on your brand. And then once you have sent that in, it'll appear as a comment. Let me show you what it would actually look like if the client wrote back and forth to me in a task. So here's an email that I sent to my client asking them for feedback with that ready for review client template email. And if I click on the replies, I can see my client got back to me here, and I was able to click reply to email to get back to her accordingly. I even included an attached image in that follow-up. And you can just continue the email conversation anytime by clicking reply to email, and then it'll open up a new email in the thread with the client. Now, alternatively, you will notice that there's an option to add a comment. So if you wanted to communicate with your internal ClickUp teammates as you're chatting with the client via email, I can do that as well and just add a regular comment. So Carvani and I could have a conversation here that's distinct from the actual email chain with the client. So we know now how you can manually send an email from a ClickUp task, but let's now talk about how you could automate this process. So recently we added in email automations to ClickUp, which means that you can have set triggers, which will prompt an email to be sent as the action. So I wanted to show you this first in the context of something like a hiring pipeline. So I have a space for hiring here and then a folder for the pipeline with lists for each of the roles that I am hiring for. My customer success list incorporates a form view. So if you have a form set up so that people can send in submissions, these will create tasks for you in ClickUp. So this is the application that people will fill out to be a part of my customer success team. And I have different statuses for these tasks to guide me through the hiring process, from new applicants, and then as the candidate progresses through phone interviews, in-person interviews, reference calls, etc., gets closer and closer to closing out the task. Now, what I can do is go into my automations menu for this list to trigger emails to be sent upon certain things that happen within my customer success list. So one automation that I have here is when a task is created, if the status is new applicant, that's the condition that needs to be true in order to prompt the action, then I will send an email. And the email will actually be sent to the address that the candidate put when they submitted the application. And then I have as well a subject line as well as a body of text that I would like to send them to communicate that we received the application. So let's see what this would actually look like. Let's say that I am a candidate and I'm going to come in and fill in this form. I would love it if Larry David actually worked at ClickUp. That would be pretty awesome. But at the very least, he has put in an application and his email address was right in there. And you can see that ClickUp has now sent an automatic email to him with the text saying that the application has been received. I also added in just a normal automation here so that just to zoom out a little bit, when any task comes in from the form, it's going to be assigned to me because I'm the hiring manager in this use case. And so since I was assigned to this task, I have a notification to mention the assignees to look at the application. So I would get a notification to attend to this application. And those normal automations would be set up in the same automation menu. So you can just go to the browse options and build your own regular automations aside from the actual email integration automation option here. You could do this for every stage of the pipeline too, so you really never have to manually reach out to a candidate when they hit a certain phase. For example, let's say that I wanted to send an automatic email to someone when they reach the in-person interview stage. I could come in here and go to automations. And let's create a brand new automation from scratch. So under the browse section, if I go to email, I can show more. And I'm going to choose the when status changes, then send email option in this case. So I'll select the account that I'd like to send from. And I can say when status changes from anything to in-person interview, I'm going to send an email. So I'll pick that email custom field option because that's where the candidate would have put their email address. I can CC or BCC anyone that I need to as necessary. And then I can put in the body of the email, I would put my email template. So I have a template for ready for live interview. It says, hi there, thanks for connecting. We're thrilled to invite you to an in-person interview. Please get back to us with a few times that work. This can include my signature, and I can include a subject as well, which can be either a custom subject or if you had a field that you wanted to put in there. For example, if the task name was Larry David application, I could just pop in the task name as what I wanted to appear there. So let's see what that one would look like when I changed a status of a task to ready for in-person interview. So we can see that the email was triggered and he got sent that to schedule an in-person interview. You could use that for the entire hiring process to just manage it pretty effortlessly with your outside pipeline. Let's go through one other example, which would be for managing a bug queue. So let's say you're on a QA team and you are managing bug reports from your clients. We use email automations actually. Recently, we've been using them a lot more to communicate with clients to keep them up to date on the status of bug reports or the prioritization of them. And it's taken a big weight off the team just to be able to automate those flows and keep clients in the loop about issues that are important to them. So I have in this example a bug queue folder with lists for the specific types of bugs that I am working on. And let's say I wanted to set up an automation for emails that would apply for everything in my bug queue folder. I could proceed to the bug queue folder automation menu. And you can see here, I have a slightly different email automation that I've applied. So this one's based off of priority. When a task changes from high, normal, low, or no priority to urgent, then I'm going to send an email to the person who reported this bug to me. So again, we'd be using a form here in this example to collect bug submissions, and the client would be asked to provide their email address. And then with this option, I can send an email about the bug's prioritization to let them know that we've escalated the urgency. So to show you what this one would look like, if I change to urgent, sometimes just needs a little refresh. Well, as you can see, we are still in beta with this feature. So every once in a while, I never know what's going to happen when I trigger an automation. But what should have happened is when the priority changed from that normal option to urgent, then we should have sent that email, which would be a good way to make sure that the client is kept to date on the urgency of that report. So hopefully that gives you some good idea of use cases for this email feature. There are just a couple of other things I wanted to note before I open it up for Q&A. So a few things you can look forward to in the future for email with ClickUp in ClickUp would be a central place to view all emails. So it'll be easier almost like an inbox to see all emails in one place. And eventually, yes, we will have an inbox where you can send and reply to emails outside of ClickUp. So this is just the first iteration of several to continue to improve this feature. But that's all I had for the content today. So I'd like to open it up now and see what questions you may have about email in ClickUp. All right. David Daniels, you say, threaded emails are good, but I would like to get notifications. Is that possible? Yeah, so if you wanted to get a notification about every new email that comes in, as long as you are a watcher on the task, that determines if you'll get notifications about the task in ClickUp, then I would recommend proceeding to the ClickApps area and turning off that threaded comment option so that every new comment added as an email will trigger a notification. From Michael, Michael, I see you ask, can you add the person's name with a code to the email reply? I do not believe that you can do that. I don't know if any of my fellow customer support team members have insight into that. Feel free to unmute yourself and voice that. But no, I do not believe that you can do that at this time. Gabriella asks, is it possible to create some mandatory personalization tokens such as name? Feels kind of impersonal to send an email stating hi there and no actual name. Yeah, that is a good question. Very similar to what was just answered, and that's a good point. I think it'll be something we add in the future, but that is not implemented at this time. Feras asks, can we automate and send an email with dynamic content, like if I want to send the time of the scheduled interview inside the email, or send a calendar invitation with Zoom link for interview 1? Yeah, you can send the template to include something like a recurring Zoom calendar meeting link that doesn't change, that is used over and over again, but you can't presently dynamically update the content automatically in emails that are sent. Lindy asks, if someone replies to the email that I sent from the task in ClickUp, where does the reply go? Does it go to my inbox and as a reply to the task? Yes, it's just like sending a normal email. So you'll still see the same exchange if you go to your normal email inbox. Just this feature allows you to actually not leave ClickUp if you do want to have the whole conversation in ClickUp as well. All right, just scrolling through a few of these questions. Can you add a test feature for the automation so you can test it before enabling it? There isn't a test automation feature, but what I did is I just used either a personal email or a fake. I just used my work email address or a quick fake personal address, and I use that for all of my testing purposes as a workaround. Can you send bulk emails, i.e. for lead generation or client newsletters? Yeah, you could do that. Again, the personalized aspect of it with changing the name in the reply isn't there, at least not yet, but you could definitely, BCC in bulk to send out a bulk email to multiple people at once. Kristen, you ask, what if I get an email in my inbox and I want to create a task in ClickUp from that email? Can I connect an existing email to a task? We do have a feature to create a task from an email in ClickUp. That's distinct from the email feature I've been showing you today, but you could use something like our Chrome extension to do this. So if you add in the extension, this will work in both Gmail and Outlook. You will be able to convert emails from Gmail or Outlook to tasks in ClickUp. So that would be a way that you could do that. The other option is if you want to create a new task via email in a specific list, we have a native email option where if you go to the settings for an individual list, you can click the email instructions button and send an email to this address to deposit it as a task inside of that list with all of the fields that you see here. Katie, you asked, can all my team members send and receive the emails? Yes, anyone can send and receive emails in ClickUp. Any team member can utilize this feature. Let's see. Jeanette asks, show us how to receive an email. So this is an example of what it would look like when you receive an email. I have that threaded comment option turned on in the ClickUp settings, but after I sent the email, if it's received, it looks like this. It comes in as a reply to that initial message I sent out. And this is the reply to the client. And then I hit the reply to email button here so that I could correspond with them back and forth. So it'd all be within one ClickUp comment thread. Amanda, you ask, can triggers be based on time in system? For example, used to thank members for 1 year with our organization or encourage them to tell us more about their favorite features with our organization after the first 60 days in the system as a member. There are some ways I could think to do that. For example, some of my clients have a task list with accounts that they're working with, and there's a due date set for the client's birthday for the tasks. And with the email automation option, you could do something like when due date arrives, then send an email. So maybe if you had tasks with due dates attached for, like the date 1 year from the date that they joined your company, you could send an email on the due date with an automatic thank you and ask for feedback. Someone's asking about explaining the costs of this feature. So the way that this works is you are granted 2 email accounts to link. And then beyond that, those are free. You can add 2 email accounts. And then beyond that, it is $24 for each additional account that you wanted to link, which works out to $2 per account per month. So that would be the cost to link additional email addresses. There's a question, is there a limit to the number of emails you can send to? What service is being used to send the email? This relates to whitelisting emails from services that may be deemed spam. Let me double check with my teammates as to the service that we use, but there's not a limit to the amount of emails that you can send to. I think Nylos is the service that we use to send emails from ClickUp, but there's not a limit to the number of emails you can send to, but there is that limit of 2 free accounts to be aware of when you're linking emails to your account. When creating a task by email, is it possible to get the name of the sender? So the sender's name is going to be whatever you indicate in the integration area when you link the email account. You'll choose the send email as, and that's what the sender's name is going to be always. But you can't dynamically send to the recipient with their name in the subject line, which I think might be what you're asking. That's not possible yet. Chris asks, when tasks are created from emails into a list/folder/task, is there a way to get the sender's email address? Yeah, so if you're talking about so one way to collect the email address of the person creating a task is via that form feature that I mentioned, where someone can submit a form with whatever they want in the task, and they would include their email address in the form. But if you use something like the email into ClickUp feature to email a task and add it to email a task that will be added in ClickUp, your email address will be visible when you actually attach the email in the task, so you'll be able to see who deposited it. I see a question from Jeremy. Can you make the email address that is used for an automation conditional? I may have missed that. Can you make the email address that is used for an automation conditional? So when you're setting up the automation, you'll be asked to put in a to field, and that whatever custom field you put in there for the email address that you're going to send to, that's what it's always going to send to. Now you could have multiple automations applied with different conditions, like, if priority is urgent and the due date is tomorrow or is in this week, then you could have an automation set up to send to a different email custom field, but you can only pick one field to send the automated email to every time. And yes, you can CC and BCC when you're sending an email. Wes, you asked, can we use variables like we can use them in the automation view? So at this time, no. The automation options for email and ClickUp are pretty straightforward, and these are all of the options that are available to you at this time. Now you can have conditions, which could be a variable, but other than that, it's just very straightforward options that you can choose from to send an email from ClickUp right here. Marnie, I'm not able to speak to any pricing updates that may be coming in the future with Enterprise Plan additional accounts at this time, but we'll be sure to keep you up to date regarding changes in the future. We'll make those available to users as they come up in the future. Jason, you ask, how does the ClickUp work with the other types of email integrations? For example, the Outlook add-in that lets us attach an email to a task. Yeah, I mean, they're distinct features from one another. The email from ClickUp feature initiates a new thread, just a totally distinct thread that you could respond to from Outlook. But if you were to create let's say if I had a random comment in here that was submitted from Outlook, this is an email that came in from Outlook that was added as a comment. I can reply, but I wouldn't be able to start an email from just a random comment. It has to initiate from the email that I send in a comment. And then if someone replied to me in Outlook to this thread, I could respond back and forth with them from ClickUp in the email feature here. Ishmael, you say, will it be possible to apply the same principle to send SMS or WhatsApp messages instead of launching an email? That may be coming in the future, but it's not available at this time. The automation options we have currently, as far as integrations, are available here. I mean, Twilio might be one that you're interested in because you can send text messages in this case with the Twilio integration. So I'd recommend checking that out for our current available options. Adelmo, you ask, I would like to have the possibility to create email lists as I can create text templates. sometimes I need to send an email to a group of people and I lose time to include email addresses one by one. Is it possible? Yeah, I mean, the only way that I can think to do that at the moment would be you could have multiple set fields of email addresses for people that you want to send out emails in bulk to. So if you had custom fields for each, client's address, for example, you could include multiple email fields in a BCC or a CC field. But you'd have to make sure that those custom fields are filled in and added into your template menu here. But that would be a good way to send an email in bulk to a bunch of specific addresses. Yeah, Joshua, you asked, could you show this, how this could be used for a ticketing system? So this is really similar to the use case I was showing for managing like a bug queue. You could do the same thing if this was a support ticket queue with all of my tasks being different support tickets. The first step would be setting up a form view where the customer would send in tasks via the form to report support tickets, and they would include an email custom field. And then from there, you could set up various email automations to interact with them as you work on a ticket, including, when due date arrives or when the task is set to complete status, send them an email. Like a really common one would probably be when task is closed, then send an email to the reporter saying this is now resolved. So that would be a good way to talk with the client with the email automation feature, or you could just have a manual back and forth with the client. If you're having trouble, and you need some troubleshooting on a certain issue, you could start an email chain with that person from here. Milos, you asked, is there a way to send the entire comment thread when having a back and forth with a client? For example, if there were 4 replies, have them all included in the 5th reply so the client can see the entire conversation from the beginning. Well, the client will see in their email, they'll have the whole comment thread. Because if they're not a part of ClickUp, they'll still be getting it just like a normal email chain. They'll have no idea that you're communicating to them from ClickUp. So while there isn't a way to send the whole thread in a reply, it shouldn't be necessary because they'll be able to see the whole correspondence chain in their email inbox. Adrian, you asked, can you show us how to add custom fields from a task in an email template? Yeah, so basically, you'll have to have the email custom field to incorporate. Oh, I think you're asking how to build an actual email template. Got it. Yeah, let's practice creating a template here. So I think the best way to use this would be, it can't be included in the raw text of the email template, but what you can do when you set up an email automation is include various fields in your response. So for example, you could say, I'm writing to let you know that this task that maybe you've shared with them has been escalated. So you could just move the text around a little bit to make it positioned around there. Or you could put the status too. So you could say, I wanted to let you know that your ticket is now closed, and that's the status. So you could add the template. You just have to make sure the fields are positioned way more elegantly than mine are inside of the template, but that's how you would actually add the fields into the body or the subject line of your email. Zeno, you ask, can you set up if no reply? I assume that you're asking if there's like an automated way to send an email if there's no reply from the recipient after a certain amount of time. No, that isn't an option at this time, but that's definitely a good feature request for the future. Jeremy, you ask, can you make the email address that is used for an automation conditional? Oh, sorry, I think I already got to that one. To clarify, I meant sending the email, the sending email. No, you cannot. It's always going to send from the one email address. You'd have to set up multiple automations to change the sender email if you have multiple accounts linked. Ray, you ask, is there a way to control settings on the ClickUp email? Right now, if we email from ClickUp, the preview on Gmail shows as help. Our email is help@agent, but that doesn't look good. If we send the email from Gmail, the name shows up fine. There isn't a way to control that in the email, but that's definitely an interesting piece of feedback for the future. But no, there isn't a way to control the settings on the ClickUp email in that regard. All right, we'll just take a couple more questions. Marwan, you ask, when a person fills a form that creates a task, can he add CC to in a custom field in the form while filling it so that he and the CC receive the automated reply? So you could incorporate a second email field. For example, let's go back to that hiring pipeline form example. I could add in a second email field for CC address. And if I put that on my form, I could say, is there another address you'd like to CC? And once they fill that in, if we go to our automation settings, you could put in the CC option, the CC address. So if anything's been filled in for that value, they would be included in the reply. Daniel, you ask, I would like to proactively append ClickUp tasks, and in this case, using a CRM use case of company project person as tasks to Gmail emails via an anchor or reference. This is possible in HubSpot and Salesforce, for example. Any plans to this? Yeah, that's not possible at this time, but definitely an interesting feature request. And I want to take a moment and just point out our feedback board to anyone who hasn't checked it out yet. If while logged into ClickUp, you click on your profile avatar and proceed to help, you can then go to request a feature. And on the roadmap area, you will be able to go to email V2. It's the top, actually the top feature request. It's really easy to find. You could also just search for it here. But this is the best way to leave comments for our product team to show them what you'd like to see in this feature in the future. Our CEO and product team spends time every single day reading every single piece of feedback submitted by our clients. So we do take these suggestions seriously. And if you add a vote to this page, we will also notify you as to any updates to this feature over time. So if there's something that you don't see in our email feature yet, I'd strongly encourage you to come to the feedback board and let us know about it so we can take that into consideration as we grow the feature. All right. Laura asks, is there a way to mark a task with an alert when an email gets replied to? I find the notifications of a new email gets lost in the notification area with all the other updates that are put in there by the team. There isn't an automation specifically for when an email reply comes in, do something. But yeah, I mean, you will definitely be made a watcher. As long as you're a watcher on the task, you will be notified when the email comes in, but there isn't a way to do what you're looking for at this time in terms of a specific trigger when the email comes in. All right, I'll take one more question for today. If from Justin, if someone completes a ClickUp form and a task is created and I reply to the person in chat using email, it does not populate the to box with the person's email address from the ClickUp form. If someone completes a ClickUp form and a task is created and I reply to the person in chat using email, does not populate the to box with the person's email address from the ClickUp form. No, it definitely should. As you can see here, like that's the email address that this person filled in when they submitted their form. You can see if I add the email option, it gives me the suggested email. So it won't automatically put it in, but it will definitely give its suggested field that you should put in there. So you just click on that and that's the address that you would send to. All right. Well, as we wrap up the webinar today, I want to thank you again so much for attending. If we didn't get a chance to get to your questions today, I apologize for that, but I did want to note that you can always reach out to us in your help portal, send us a chat here, or email us at help@clickup.com. We'd love to hear from you as you continue to play around with this feature as to any questions or feedback you might have. And don't forget to visit our feedback board as well, which is the best place to show what you'd like us to improve about this feature. But we will definitely be posting this recording on our website as well and sending it to you so that you'll have it for future reference. So thank you again so much for your time. And we hope this was informative for you. And be sure to check out our future webinars coming up, which you can also find in the help area. You can browse through future sessions that we're doing and also check out in the on-demand section. That's where we'll be posting this recording as well for the future. But with that, I'll sign off for today. And again, thank you so much for the time. Have a great rest of your day.